I know a lot of people have had different speculations or ideas or whatever about conflict between us over the matter of pants. We had conversations before I started wearing pants and just shared my heart with them where I saw the Lord leading me. I was really grateful for their response and they said just to walk with the Lord convictionally and to seek to honor Him and to maintain modesty. And so I think I'm really grateful for their hearts and how they've just instilled that in us kids.
Hey everyone, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It's Thursday, May 19th. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Frida is back there having a wonderful life underneath the pillow. So I just did a video about the Duggars monitoring phones and controlling information coming into and out of their compound and drones and all of that. Well, I was thinking about how in the world of the IBLP, where Jim Bob is king, you know, I'm starting to think that Jim Bob, if he could, maybe would take over the IBLP. Maybe he'll be the next Bill Gothard. Who knows? Anyways, I was thinking about how when we first met the Duggars, they talked a lot about modesty and the way that Michelle talked about it in great deal, about how you don't want to dress a certain way because you wouldn't want to cause someone to stumble. Because in the IBLP, what I wear as a woman is it's my responsibility to control how other people perceive me. It's my fault if somebody does something to me. It's my fault if I wear something and a guy can't control his thoughts. Yep, that's right. It's all about it's always the woman's fault. And so because of that, they have this weird belief that women have to wear skirts and they can't show a lot of their, have their shoulders covered, no low necklines, knees covered, 3/4 length sleeves. So I'm really defrauding here. And my shirt is tight. And you can't have eye traps. Like this is an eye trap, obviously. Michelle, when the first special, talked about how she made the decision to dress her children in dresses, or her daughters in dresses, because she grew up and that's just not how she dressed, and she didn't realize how bad it was that she dressed that way. Her girls grew up having to wear skirts, having to have curly hair, having to look a certain type of way, and they didn't cut their hair a lot, and they wore pretty just frumpy clothes. So obviously, as the oldest girls grew up, we were excited when we saw some of them branch out with their style. One daughter in particular was always enamored with fashion, and that was Jinger. Jinger Vuolo, or JInger Duggar, she was always the very expression-filled Duggar. She had all those funny faces. She was silly and goofy. People always thought she was the rebel Duggar. She was the one where they started the whole board Free Jinger. They believed that she was gonna like run off to the sunset to a city. And Jinger wrote in her book about how being branded a rebel was like the worst thing ever, because in the IBLP, being a rebel is not good. It's like being basically next to the devil. When she married Jeremy, a worldly man, sort of, who grew up in the real world and went to college and played professional soccer, her wardrobe expanded and her fashion expanded. And Jeremy also loves to shop, and he also loves fashion too. So she has really started to embrace a whole new look, a whole new vibe. And particularly since she moved to California, she's become more and more daring with her fashion. She has started to wear mini skirts, she wears shorts, she wears tanks, she wears short shorts, she wears high heels, she wears red, she wears black, she wears all the colors that you're not supposed to wear. She wears eye traps, she wears rompers. She's basically just looking like the average lady in California, and I'd say still being pretty modest about it. But apparently when Ginger and Jeremy got together and they got married. The Duggars weren't very thrilled with the fact that she changed up her style, and apparently her lack of modesty prompted them to have a conversation and a confrontation with them about what she was wearing. Now, in the Duggar family, mind you, you can be Josh and nobody ever tells you anything's wrong. You can convince everyone that nothing happened and all kids are safe with you. But if you wear pants or a dress or a short skirt or shorts, you're going to get a talking to by Jim Bob, and you're going to be told that what you're wearing is going to make someone stumble. So in a sworn deposition, Jeremy spoke about the differences of opinion that he has had with them about several convictions that he doesn't share with them. For instance, Jeremy says that he does not hold the same conviction that you should have as many kids as possible. So they asked him whether or not he believes that you should have as many kids as possible, and he said, I can't speak for them, I can only speak for myself. And he says, but I don't hold a conviction that says I need to have as many children as I can. And then they said, are Jim Bob and Michelle aware of that difference in conviction? And he said, he didn't answer. And then he said, have you ever expressed any opinions about any different conviction that you and your wife have versus their own? And he said, yes. And he said, when was that? And he said, I'm not sure. And he said, okay, and what did they say? And he said, I'm not sure. What was the disagreement or difference in conviction that they expressed an opinion about? I'd say I'm trying to think of it. They've spoken to us about, what was it? I guess modesty is one. We've had a couple of conversations with mom and dad about modesty. And they said, Ginger chooses to wear pants on occasion, doesn't she? And he said, yes. And he said, and Michelle never does, to your knowledge, does she, in public? And he said, not to my knowledge. Okay. Have they told you that they think Ginger ought to be wearing skirts and dresses instead of pants? And he said, no. He said, okay, but they do. Is the question of modesty that they talk to you about pants versus skirts? He said, in a way, yes. I mean, not that exact word. And he said, yeah, so what did they say? I don't want to put words in your mouth. I just want you to tell me. And he said, they just shared their thoughts on women wearing dresses, I guess. And he said, okay, and that they think that's the best way, right? And he said, they've not worded it that way. How did they word it? I don't recall, says Jeremy. I don't recall exactly. And he said, you don't recall. But they didn't word it in the way I said it. And he said, yeah. So they approached Ginger and Jeremy to talk to them about modesty after Ginger starts to wear pants and her style changes. Can you freaking believe that? So Jeremy said, they never said this is the best way. He said, so the lawyer said, okay, but they didn't say that, but you don't recall what it was they said. And he said, yeah, I remember Mrs. Duggar just sharing her own personal journey of modesty. He said, okay, you would certainly disagree with any notion that your wife dresses in an immodest way, wouldn't you? And he said, yes. Okay. When Jim, Bob, and Michelle shared with you their thoughts on modesty as it related to the way women dressed, were they upset with you about it or with Ginger? And he said, I would need to speculate their emotions. And he says, okay, they weren't visibly upset? No. So they have a disagreement with them about women wearing pants, and Michelle talks about her journey and why dresses should be worn and skirts instead of pants. It's these disagreements that have led to almost a bit of an estrangement with the Duggars and has caused some distance in their relationship. In fact, Ginger had mentioned that they moved to California, and she just thought it would be good for them to move to California because it would be healthier for her to be able to get away, to have her own sense of family away from her family. She felt it would be healthier to move away to establish her own family. And she said she plans to stay in California for the foreseeable future And she even mentioned she's trying to get some of her siblings to move to California to be with her. It's healthier to get away. I mean, most people leave and cleave. So they went on to ask about more disputes. And he says, he further expanded on the disputes. He said, I think you shared with us before that some of his and Michelle's convictions aren't shared by you and Ginger. And he said, yes. Has that mostly been okay, or have there been confrontations or disputes about those differences and convictions? And Jeremy said, wow, we're in the land of subjectivity here. I just want to say that the way that Jeremy speaks to people is so patronizing. Okay, sorry, that's my just opinion. I would say, I don't know if I share exact convictions on everything with anybody. People are so complex. I would say it's been okay. I mean, we're adults. We can talk about different things. Yeah, it hasn't caused any estrangement in the relationship, though, from your perspective. And he said, what do you mean by estrangement? They did that all the time. Like, if they didn't understand a word, or if they didn't want to answer a question, they would be like, what do you mean by that? So he says, has there been any more distance? And obviously there's more physical distance since you moved to California. Is there more emotional distance between Ginger and her parents than there was before you moved to California? And he said, perhaps. I think, though, diagnosing that would be difficult. I think as you grow and have your own family and kids and life, and you move on to not seeing people every day, you would have a difficult time diagnosing that. He's like, I can't speak to somebody else. I don't want to speculate. Ginger's dressing causes a shift in an estrangement with her parents, sort of, that Jeremy can't diagnose. If you remember, Jill had mentioned that when she left the show, she said that she saw her side of her dad that was very different, and he became very verbal with her. Ginger said this about her dad. She describes her father as having a strong personality, always very just, and a tendency to see everything in black and white terms. Jim Bob was not an angry man, and he encouraged the children to let him know if his irritation ever upset them. Because Ginger was a sensitive type, she recalls alerting him when he used harsh words. He would then apologize. She describes her mother as calm and the sweetest person in the world. I don't remember her ever even raising her voice. Ginger also talked about the discipline, you guys, and this is something that's come up a lot on whether or not there was certain objects used in the home, and this is what she said. Discipline when needed in the home involved a talk or ask to read a book to calm down. Ginger never felt that her parents disciplined in anger. I just felt very safe. She said consequences occasionally involved spanking with a little twig, just a tiny sting, nothing over the top. Jill mentioned that she had been hit in the face at least once, and Jessa mentioned a switch in hers. So there was apparently some sort of object used in the home for discipline. So Ginger has a dad that she describes as a strong personality who's a black and white thinker who also has a sharp tongue and can use harsh words. Kind of sounds like, the way that that's described, it sounds like the IBLP's vocabulary to say that Jim Bob says hurtful words to people sometimes, and that he has a strong personality, to me sounds like he's controlling. But I'm going to just wrap this up by saying, when she talked about living in California, and she said that that's where she's happiest living, and that she wants to have other siblings live there, and that she needed space and she needed to establish her own life, it sounds like Ginger moved to get away from her family. And I don't think that's uncommon. Some people do that. They need to get away from their family. They need to get away from the toxicity. I just hope that Ginger at some point in time can get the help that she needs to deal with some of the struggles that she's had. And that I hope that Jeremy has told her that what her parents said to her about Modesty is just not okay. So as far as like Ginger's issues with how Jeremy thinks of the situation, apparently Jeremy doesn't like to go back to Arkansas because he doesn't like that, she said that he doesn't like that Josh is included in all kinds of family functions. and he doesn't want to be around Josh, and he doesn't understand why the family has Josh around all the time. So apparently Josh being such a huge part of the family and such a big part of the family, and how like the family doesn't seem to have any boundaries for him, bothers Jeremy. So clearly that is also another sticking point in their relationship. There was no mention of a struggle between Jeremy and Jim Bob, but it sounds like Jeremy doesn't hold the same convictions as they do about dress, about life, and that he doesn't like that Josh is always around. So love Jeremy or hate Jeremy, at least he's done what he needed to do to help Ginger get away from the family and get away from Josh. And I hope with continued support from friends and her husband in California, she can get the help that she needs. I hope she can get the services she needs, and I hope she can help and she can truly just prosper in her life and thrive. Because in a family where you wearing pants is the problem and your brother doing things to kids is not the problem, that's not a family anyone should be sad to leave. I'd be like, peace, I'm out, even though that's hard. So tell me, are you surprised to hear about these confrontations? Are you surprised to hear about Jeremy not liking Josh? Are you surprised to hear that they almost shamed her for the way she dressed? Tell me in the comments below. Bye, guys.